This is the Sourceseeker Hour. I'm your host, Baruti Carl Alexander. It is very much of a blessing to be here to talk to you about a very important subject. And we're going to go right into the subject and ask the question, is climate change real and does it matter? That's a very important question. And we're going to ask some guests who have very strong views, divergent views, different views about it. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But first, I want to say this is our 111th episode of the Sourceseeker Hour. And we're very blessed to have been able to share with you and continue sharing with you. And I'm very thankful. And I just want to go into our guests. And we're very blessed to have our powerful guests with us. Brother Kalongi, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you think about climate change?
Yes, I'm Brother Kalongi. I'm the senior pastor at the Shrine of the Black Madonna Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church. And of course, I'm just a brother in the community who's always willing to serve. Brother Baruti, that question you asked, is climate change real or does it even matter? I think everybody should understand and know that climate change is real. Now, asking, the question, is global warming real? That gets into another situation. But of course, climate change is real because we experience climate change year round. We have 4 seasons.
Well, since you brought up the comment about global warming, you're going to have to share the difference between those two, so people know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think the interrogative statement you made earlier, it kind of probably needs to be rephrased. Is global warming real? Because if you believe climate change is not real, then you kind of got to be very foolish and somewhat ignorant, because again, we have 4 seasons that we call summer, winter, spring, and fall. And all of those have something to do with the ecosystem changing and the climate changing and readjusting based upon what it needs to produce. And so, of course, climate change is real. And I would just even add, global warming is very real as well. And if we don't take global warming as a global threat, it can be, very dangerous and detrimental to all life on this earth.
Thank you, my brother, for that clarification. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more, that term climate change and how it is viewed in the mass public and how people take it and spin it and say different things about it. I want to bring in some of our other guests. We've had 2 other guests to join us. Brother Christopher Times. Brother Edmund Guy is trying to join us also. Brother Times, what do you say about, well, first introduce yourself on the Sourceseeker Hour, our 111th episode, and what do you say about that question, is climate change real and does it matter?
My name's Reverend Christopher Times. I'm in mental health, and I do believe that climate change is real. And the reason why I believe it's real is because of the atmospheric type of changes that's going on. Of course, you have the issues of ice melt at your polar caps. And then there's this also thing about the hurricanes intensifying and the weather patterns. Things are becoming more intense. You have the wildfires that are more intense and off season now, and times that they're having wildfire in California where they, really is off season. So lots of indicators of climate change, I believe, that are obvious for all to see.
Yes, thank you very much. And I believe when people refer to that term climate change, they are saying, are things different than they normally have been? Are there more hurricanes? Are there more tornadoes? Are there more things that are happening that haven't happened before in the past? So, Brother Kalongi, I think when people use that term, that's what they're referring to. And then they're asking, is it affecting the atmosphere? Is it affecting our ability to breathe, our ability to live on this earth? And speaking about that, Sister Johna Reneè is the only young lady on this platform. Please introduce yourself and then comment on what I have said.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Baruti. My name is Johna Hill, and I am a travelpreneur as well as a human service worker and community worker within the greater Houston area for the past 15 years. I'm an author, I'm a poet, I'm a writer. And regarding climate change, I definitely think it is something that impacts us. I think it is something that has not only impacted us, but it impacts the environment that we live in, obviously being climate change, but having the opportunity to travel around the world per se, you see the difference in how people from different cultures and people from different walks of life either appreciate the land that we live on and the resources that we have or not. And that has been something that I've had the opportunity to experience while traveling the past 2 years around. So I definitely think climate change is extremely important and a great discussion to have. It's something that we need to, as humanity, we need to pay attention to because it is directly impacting our health. It is directly impacting our mental state. It is impacting our lives on a daily basis.
However, not everybody has the same opinion. There are people, there are countries that do not believe that we should worry about that as much. There's some question of whether China is worried about it like America. There's people in America that say, hey, we shouldn't worry about it. It doesn't matter how much gas we put in the atmosphere. They don't worry about emissions. And it's a big debate. It's a political debate. It is a scientific debate. It's a scientific debate, Dr. Veon. What do you say about it's a scientific debate that some people have? Do you agree with that, Dr. Veon?
I totally disagree. And the whole notion that there is a debate related to something that actually exists is part of the misinformation that really was spawned out by the large oil companies to allow them to continue to produce fossil fuels and allow people to continue to burn more fossil fuels and rather to address the problem. So as long as we have the so-called doubt about whether climate change global, which is a part, climate change is part of global warming, or global warming is actually part of climate change. It's one aspect of climate change. But the large oil companies were the first to put out misinformation concerning the existence of global warming and climate change, both of those things. And the reason they did that was to continue to make money. Exxon, there's a really good documentary out right now on PBS. I can't think of the name right now, but I will in just a second. Let me see, the PBS. Yes, the power of big oil. But
let me ask this. Let me cut in and ask this. Mm-hmm. Don't they believe that they can make just as much money with alternative fuel sources? And wouldn't they be concerned about conserving human life?
No.
Wouldn't it be in their best interest?
No.
Money is what they're concerned about.
No.
Money.
Why not?
Because they're interested in one thing, and that's the bottom line. And it's the bottom line while I'm alive. I'm not concerned about future generations. I'm not concerned about when I go and drill this oil that it undermines civilizations or communities and people's lives where they pollute the water pollute the air with their just drilling. Just look at the what happened with the Exxon Valdez, of them having the oil there. Just look at what happened right here on our Gulf Coast, of them having the oil there, and the pollution that still exists here after years, many years of their exploitation. And they knew these things would possibly happen. Just like the pipeline, that our brothers and sisters up there stopped the pipeline because they knew that it would pollute their water, and that you can't have a pipe that won't bust. If a pipe exists, it will bust. That's just the nature of Murphy's Law. So misinformation about the issue is one of the major things causing us not to take action that we need to take immediately and change our lifestyle.
So basically you're saying we on a path to doom, and
yes, sir.
Nothing's gonna happen unless something happens. I see I have some new guests in. They haven't appeared yet. Let me know when you all are ready to join the conversation. Brother Kalongi, are we on a path to doom? What is the possibilities of change? And is it as bad as Dr. Veon is saying?
Yes, again, it is as bad as Dr. McReynolds is saying. I think I think the doctor nailed it, in the coffin, and he kind of covered the whole entire premise of what's actually taking place. But again, I want to kind of go back to the beginning, because I think we got to be careful using that phrase climate change. Climate change has been around since the 1600s, that phrase. Climate change occurs naturally. What we're talking about is man manipulation of the ecosystem. We're talking about global warming. And the reason I bring that up, because if we were in an argumentation and debate, those who are climate change, those who are global warming is deniers, they argue from the premise that climate change occurs naturally. And it does. But when it comes to man manipulating the nature of the entire globe, what happens is that process of climate change, it takes a rapid action, and now you have what you call microwave climate change, because it's happening so fast and so drastically. And this has been debated and brought to the American Scientists Association since 1960, when you had the scientist Carl Sagan raising these same issues about climate change and global warming. And so I think we got to be careful, because if we had somebody who was denying global warming, they would say, oh, well, climate change occurs naturally. Well, we're not talking about climate change occurring naturally. We're talking about the effects of mankind when it comes to the nature and the way that the mechanics of the earth functions. And so, as Dr. McReynolds was saying, we are heading quickly towards doom. And if we don't do something immediately, and I'm talking about something that is almost in the terms of revolutionary actions, then we can all be doomed. And I have to bring in the fact that those who are climate change deniers, 80%, now this is from the Pew Organization research statistics, 80% of those who are climate change deniers are also Republicans. And so this is just not an argument about science, because as Dr. McReynolds was saying, how are you going to argue something that is happening? You can't argue 1 + 1 = 2. We know the equation. We know the mathematical formula is going to end up with that equation. The issue is that we have this pseudo philosophy, pseudo politics, and pseudo science that is trying to brainwash American society into believing that there is an actual debate. There's no damn debate taking place. As Dr. McReynolds was saying, you have capitalist, corporate, all billionaires who want to control the fate of the universe, because they understand that things are drastically changing to technology advancement. They're trying to stop that. We could have been running vehicles off of electricity 50 years ago. This is not a matter of opinion. This is truth and fact. The problem is that if we make that drastic change from oil and fossil fuel, billionaires would be losing out on future money, and they want to stop that.
I hear you. There is an argument, though, that
Can I just
these
make a,
things have been happening all along, and the world has not went to doom. I want to bring in Brother Don Johnson Sadiki. He got his hand up. Brother, can you hear and chime in?
Yeah, I can hear. I hope you guys can hear me. Thanks for having me on here. I just want to chime in, Dr. McReynolds. Both you guys are absolutely right. You know, there's no debate about this. But we are moving the responsibility to the advertisers when we blame them for telling us stuff and we take it. Back when we stopped, you know, education is our only hope. And at this point, that might even be too late. But you have to have education. You have to have people that are educated enough to decide, oh, this is some bullshit, excuse my expression, and just don't take it. But we all bought in. It's not just the oil companies and the big execs that are making the money. We want the cheap gas. We want all of this stuff that they be talking about. So it's our values, it's our heart that's causing this and allowing this to happen, in my humble opinion.
And let me say this, though. Like I said earlier, people say that, hey, the world has been changing and things have been happening all along. And in the divine scheme of things, we're not going to be able to mess it up as human beings.
But science, that you can't even put that argument out. It's not even scientific, man. Come on.
Well,
we know the impacts of burning fossil fuels on our environment. That is just a fact. And we knew it in the 60s. We knew it back then. When we decided we couldn't change over to the metric system, that we just was too stupid to make the right decision.
You said we, who you meaning?
All of us.
All of us.
I mean,
Everybody.
all of us. Everybody.
We all
we
part of the
fall into it.
problem. I guess we're part of the solution.
We complaining about the $4 gas when we knew we should have been paying $4 gas back in the 70s.
Why should we have been paying $4 gas back in the 70s?
So that we could work on alternate fuels, so that we could use some of the money and change some and influence these companies. Or if we used our influence, these companies would have had to change, but we didn't. But we let them. We gotta say this. We gotta own up to our responsibility in this. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So are we saying that there is no divine scheme of things that we as human beings, we can do what we gonna do, but the earth is gonna replenish itself no matter what we do? That is beyond human understanding. Or are we gonna say that we can mess it up, we can change what was created if you believe in the divine creation? Are we gonna say that we can mess up a divine creation? I want to hear what the sister says about that. Sister Johna Reneè.
Thank you. I think that we absolutely interfere with the divine creation. This earth was given to us for us to use it the way it's designed to use for its resources. And of course, part of those resources are oil, and we, just like the brother said, we know that burning of fossil fuel is affecting our environment, and it's affecting our health. It's affecting so much of our livelihood. But Earth itself was designed for the resources, the natural resources that we need in order to survive here: water, fire, everything. And so with that being said, the more that we continue to dishonor, the more that we continue to disrupt and abuse our environment with the way that we're living. And I love the way brother said it, you know, it's us, it's we participate in this as well. I heard somebody say not too long ago, I think it was a question, if we all decided to move from fueled cars to electric cars, what that would do for our environment. But so many of us don't even think of what that change can mean for us as a collective. But it takes more than just one person. It takes more than just having this conversation. It takes us all being committed to the cause for our future kids, for our future earth, in order for us to even have something that's going to be able to sustain us as humanity. Because where we're going in the direction that we're headed, our environment, this is also directly related to, we're not only talking about the billionaires and the people who are getting paid via fuel, but this is also going into big pharma, because we have these people who are now getting sick because of our environment and getting cancer, and all of this plays a part into all of these people making money off of our inability to do better, our inability to make better decisions in order to say, hey, this has to stop. And you do have your individuals who are making a statement, who are very green and working towards making a better environment for the energy that we consume and the cars that we use. But it's going to take more than just a subset of people working on it. It takes all of us to buy into this. There is no debate. This is what's happening to us. This is what is happening to our earth, and this is what's happening to humanity. We're playing a part into it as well.
I understand the argument. I understand the science, but if you look at the history of civilization, there's always been changes. You go back when fire was started, that was a big change in the earth. When they made tools, that was a big change in the earth. Then civilization moved by the lakes and the water. That was a big change. We survived, and human beings survived elements that made it very difficult. We survived against animals. We survived against so many different things. I go back to this question. Are we capable of destroying the earth that was created by divine providence? Brother Edmund Guy, do you want to chime in?
Yes, that's a very important question. Are we able to? Yes, I understand that we're able to. But one of the things that it's been like a debate, or whether it's a debate, it's not even a debate. It's like Dr. McReynolds says, and like Brother Kalongi said as well. I agree with both the guys in a certain way. There's no debate. To put it simply, you could take your grandkid. I worked in a petrochemical company for 36 years. I retired almost 9 years ago. But you take your grandkid and you get in the hot heat of the summer, step outside, sun shining on you. If there's a big oak tree nearby, you step under that oak tree and you can't tell me that that the degrees, the temperature doesn't drop by a certain amount. Right now, I see too many people. I see people cutting down 3-foot diameter oak trees just because they think it look bad in their yard. And then immediately, the earth is like a globe. It's like a ball. It's like an egg that's going to hatch. If you continue to heat it up, you can't. And now, even in Antarctica, they got glaciers. The biggest glaciers are melting so fast until they're creating waterfalls and lakes below. This eventually gravity gonna eventually take place, to whereas we could end up in a catastrophic situation to where the entire earth itself can be flipped upside down.
No,
but
the world's going to be fine.
Global warming is real.
But the world's going to be fine. We ain't gonna make it.
Yes.
But
the world
will reheal itself once it gets rid of the ailments.
But we're the ones that's got to warn the people. There's going to be a remnant.
We are the ailments. We got to recognize we're the ailments.
That's right. Once it gets rid of us.
That's why we're here today, to speak on it.
Let me cut in with this question. Dr. Veon, you had a question, or you had a statement that climate change, global warming is related to race. And I think what you were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the people that are affected most by it are those people that don't have the resources. Like they put the chemical plants by neighborhoods who would not object as much. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Climb into that a little deeper.
Yes, sir. Can I go back and the U.S. Geological Survey says, what's the difference between global warming and climate change? Although people tend to use the terms interchangeably, global warming is just one aspect of climate change. Global warming refers to the rise of global temperatures due mainly to the increasing concentration of greenhouse gases, plural. Carbon dioxide is only one, methane is another in the atmosphere. Climate change refers to the increasing changes in the measures of climate over a long period of time, including precipitation, temperature, and wind pattern. And then to go on, let me talk about precipitation and race. We can go back and look at the hurricane that struck New Orleans, and the people that were most affected were Black people, poor people. All along the Gulf Coast, where the hurricanes come in, it's poor people and people of color that are affected the most. Right now, because of the changing climate in Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, you have people every 48 seconds dying from starvation. So yes, we can see that it affects poor people. Even when if you go back to where we were talking about the increase of gas prices, let the gas prices go up to $5, $7, $8, whatever dollars you want, it's going to affect poor people, which generally are people of color, Black people the most.
Yes.
I can't say for sure that I see the correlation between hurricanes, tornadoes, and that. I don't see that correlation that it predominantly affects people of color or so forth, or that, are you saying because of where they're located and they have to be located
if we go back,
there,
yes.
that is why?
That if you look at, again, if you look at Katrina, that Katrina was a highly unusual storm, which we expect now.
But Katrina, the levees broke, didn't they?
Why did the levees break? Did they just break on their own? Or
Sister Johna Reneè, can you comment on that?
They didn't break on their own.
That could be another subject right there.
I can definitely comment on that. So being actually firsthand impacted by Hurricane Katrina is actually what brought me to Houston, Texas in 2005. That is the reason why I'm a displaced resident in Houston because of Hurricane Katrina. And it is said that the levees broke, but the officials broke the levees. If you can do a little research, and it's debatable, but in order to save the French Quarter, which is where the money is made in New Orleans, they had to sacrifice a part of the city, and part of that was breaking the levees. And where did that water go? That water went where obviously predominantly Black people, low income people on a low socioeconomic plane, that's where they live. So all the water came in and it destroyed all of the lower Ninth Ward, which is where people who don't have the resources live, in order to save the French Quarter. So there was a big lawsuit, civil lawsuit, several of them because of that. So that is part of what happened due to Hurricane Katrina and how the people were impacted. Predominantly the people who do not have the resources that the people with the money have. You sacrifice them for a better or greater cause, because we got to save the city that's making us money. And what part of the city makes us money? It's the French Quarter.
Yeah, just follow the money.
I agree with that analysis. Okay, all right. I can see that point. Brother Kalongi, what do you think about the correlation between race and climate change that they are discussing?
Well, I gotta give kudos to my brother Dr. McReynolds. He's dropping some cold hard facts. I mean, which eliminates any kind of attempt for somebody to deny or even debate that global warming is real. And I like how he broke down the difference between climate change, global warming, because global warming is one of the effects of climate change. And so that's what I was talking about earlier, because I've tuned into a lot of people who deny climate change, and they always go from that premise that climate change is natural, but we're not talking about natural climate change. We all understand natural climate change. We understand at this particular moment, we're talking about the position, and if we were to use the word, the immune system of the earth right now is being compromised because we're manipulating it and we're doing things that we don't have any business. And I think we all have our personal immune systems, and we understand when we're sick, and when we understand when something is off with our bodies and something is off with Mother Earth right now. And as the sister was breaking down, but Dr. McReynolds, I think we probably missed what he was saying when he said the correlation between race and global warming is the fact that we are living in a society. A society is a living, breathing, collective entity. And in this society, Black people are downcast, and we're in the position of being oppressed, and because we're impoverished. And so anytime something devastates the society, it's always going to affect those who are poor, especially living in a capitalist society. And so whoever has the less amount of money is always going to be affected the most by any kind of natural disaster, any kind of devastation, whether it be political, ecological, any form of devastation, we're going to suffer from it. But going back to what Dr. McReynolds was saying, now this was brought to our attention by the Natural Science Observatory in Hawaii. And it pointed out and alluded to the fact that as these natural disasters that take place, when they do occur, it's going to affect poor people the most, because the weather scientists cannot accurately predict anymore or any longer the nature or the impact that the storm is going to have. And that's what happened in Hurricane Katrina. They knew Hurricane Katrina was coming, but they did not know it was coming with that level of intensity, and they could not predict, they could not prepare for it. They cannot move inner city people out of the city in enough time to save their lives. And so we have to be careful when we're even talking about a debate, because this is not a debate. It may be an act of war for a system of white supremacy, systemic racism, to know that global warming is a real threat, because the oil companies understand that global warming is a real threat. The issue is they don't give a damn about it being a real threat. And when have they ever gave a damn about people who do not look like them? We have to understand history and have a historical consciousness when we're having these kind of dialogues, because right now what's going on is we're playing not with just our lives, we're playing with the entire life system of the entire earth. And as Brother Edmund was saying and Brother Sadiki was saying, what Mother Earth is going to do is just wash her plate clean and start over. So these damn animals don't know how to act right, you know, and so let me clean house. And so we got to really take this serious.
Yeah,
a lot of good points, a lot of powerful points. We are living in a world and a society. Gas is $5. Frustration and blame and vengeance and violence is growing. It seems to be growing ever more. Discussions on the internet are going even crazier. And global warming seems to be, climate change seems to be on the back burner. And it's not something that people are concerned. It's about 12th down on the list. So I don't think that's going to change. How can it change? Will it change? I don't particularly think so. I think that the world is going to keep on rolling, and it's going to get to a point where it's the haves and the have-nots, and it's going to be a question of who they are and whose side are you on. Brother Don Johnson, I want to hear what you got to say about that. Brother Sadiki, I guess he's not available.
No, I'm here. I just had my speaker off, so I wouldn't cause a lot of noise in the conversation. Yeah, I mean that may be on the table
So
en route to
what's going to happen?
That may be on the table. The haves and the have-nots in this capitalistic world may be on the table as the world starts to reclaim itself. I don't know. That's a possibility.
I'm telling my kids, hey, y'all got to stop eating out. I mean, gas is $5. Things are happening like what happened in Buffalo. Young white kids are getting very frustrated. Young black kids are. Brother Times has a show on homelessness and suicide among black young men. Wow. This world is getting so stressful, and all around, so many things are happening. How
as long as we keep chasing after white people,
how do we help ourselves?
Go ahead.
Somebody wanted to chime in.
If we keep chasing after what white people throw out there and telling us that it's good stuff, when we know and see with our own eyes that it isn't, then
chasing the wrong thing.
What you're saying is
we got problems.
Hold on, but what you're saying is that we are able to see the truth for ourselves when the control of the media is in a source that wants to tell us a certain story. How many of our people read
we follow the media.
Documentaries or information that will tell them what is true, and then who are we going to believe? Go ahead, brother.
I'm going to cut in, but I've got some experience with this. I used to actually work for some of the federal departments with the government that actually dealt with some of this stuff. I was in the protection division when Hurricane Katrina hit. I used to work for the Space Center, got deployed with George W. Bush to New Orleans, and I went in with the law enforcement folks. So I saw what happened, and I'm here to tell y'all, that story you mentioned, Ms. Hill, about the plans to blow the levees and stuff. Well, guess what? Mr. Times saw those plans because I have a secret security clearance with the federal government. I was actually in the headquarters over there in Metairie, and I worked in the FEMA division, okay? The FEMA division where most people couldn't go. And I literally laid my eyes on those plans, ma'am. I saw them, okay? So I'm here to verify. Most people can't say what I'm telling you for a fact, but I am telling you that I was there. I looked at the plans. As a matter of fact, I talked to a black engineer who helped draw up those plans, and he was actually maintaining those levees with the Army Corps engineer. And the brother told me, he says, sir, he said, this was designed from the beginning. He said, we went ahead and put these things implemented. And that's why y'all couldn't say anything, because y'all didn't have any proof. But the government had the proof all along because they the ones made the plans. Matter of fact, let me just go further and say, I went down to the lower ninth. I have friends that live down there, okay? And I went and saw the levee wall that got blown up. A friend of mine lived 2 blocks from there, and I saw the wall. It was blown up. And so I'm here to tell you that everything you thought was true about the government and this Katrina thing is true. I'm going to go further and tell you something else you may or may not know. It was all planned because let me tell you something. The government, to include your old mayor, Reneè, had in the plan, and he was working in cooperation with the business district of New Orleans, okay, to take over all of that land that y'all had down there off of Claiborne and next to Broward County and all of that. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. And they went ahead. The plan was that they were going to make that whole area down there where nothing but, by the way, black folk live, and it was air property. You know what I'm talking about? Air property, because most of that property didn't have a current deed on it. Why? Because that stuff, those properties were passed down from days of slavery. Those people who lived in those homes, most of them didn't have no quote unquote rights to that land. And that's how the city stole all that property, and they sold it to the likes of Donald Trump and quite a few other developers. I talked to the people who were part of that whole thing. So I just thought I'd throw that in there since we're talking about climate change and black people. So there you go.
You telling the truth now. You know,
Thank
we
you,
don't
Doc.
need no faith when we can see it with our own eyes.
Yeah. That's just to verify everything y'all thought. I literally saw the plans. I talked to the people who were in charge of that stuff. And yeah, it was cold-blooded evil.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
So I go back to this. I mean, what chance do we have against this doom? I think the only chance that we have is we got to believe in a power higher than ourselves that is going to. Now, I'm not saying we don't have to put our best foot forward. We don't have to put one foot in front of the other and keep it pushing and keep working. But hey, if it's this insurmountable obstacle, what chance do we have? So, I mean, you have these oil companies with this great power. They're not about to give it up. They're not about to turn to alternative sources, even though ethanol, electricity, and other sources would be better for the atmosphere. But that's going to mess up their bottom line. So if that is the case, we have to build circles within ourselves to survive and do the best we can. Brother Edmund Guy, what you got to say about that?
I was just saying things are changing, and the big oil companies know that as well. But it's becoming more economically feasible to go more electric vehicles and that sort of thing. And
so you think they actually going to change to an electric vehicle
eventually, but they don't want to do it drastically. So they always want to throw a monkey wrench in the game. They got millions and millions. They've been doing it for several years, throwing monkey wrenches in the game. They throw monkey wrenches in the game anytime they lobby against.
There are some reports that by the year 2030, maybe half of the cars will be electric. Now, some people say that by 2050, the diversity of the country will be totally changed, and that's causing a upset mindset out there also. So
that's a different topic there, man. I mean, it's going to be a heavy one too, because there are people that feel that they're becoming a minority and they're ready to lash out and start something. But that's another topic.
That is another topic. It is another topic, but all of it kind of goes together, because when people are feeling that, hey, things are just so tough, they're looking for somebody to blame.
But I just want to say
somebody to say, okay, it's because of them. And, you know, if we kind of take care of this situation, things will be better. And that's why I say climate change is like 12th on the list. And that's not something that is at the top of the conversations. Even though you may want it to be, Dr. Veon, it's not at the top of the conversations. How can we get it on a higher plane of conversation? Dr. Veon. Dr. Veon, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. You know, I don't know about the higher plane, but what we need to do is change our behavior. And as we change our behavior, you know, we think we need to drive cars. And one of the things I just want to bring into that, when we're talking about climate change, we're talking about generally emissions into the atmosphere. And methane from animal production is much more deadly to the environment, really, than carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide only lasts a very short time, whereas methane will stay in the atmosphere, as it's stated, for 12 years. So when we talk about the climate change and the effects, we generally talk about cars and fossil fuel, but deforestation, like we all know that the Amazon and the rainforest has been said to be the lungs of the earth. What rainforests around the country, around the world, are being destroyed for cattle production, monocrops like palm, tea, coffee, pineapples, cocoa. And so we're destroying the places, the natural lungs that will clean up the air just to produce these things that we think we want, like more meat, for instance. And if you go by one of those animal places, they have a, anytime you pass by where it's a hog farm or a cattle farm, you can smell that stuff for miles away. And
Wow.
that's the sort of stuff that's also affecting the climate. Not only does just the gases go, but then you get the water, that our water is going to be polluted from the excrement of these animals that are discarded into the waterways. Then not only that, then the production of the feed for those animals. Then you tear down all the trees so that you can grow grains and feed this animal, that you could have got more protein from the grains in the first place. But as you tear down the trees to grow this grain, now there's no place for the water to go. And then it goes up into the atmosphere. And then what does it do? It comes down as Katrina. That's where we're changing the environment and changing and killing people. Where it falls down, we're less likely to be able to withstand floods, because right here in Houston, where do we live? In the bottom. We don't live on the top, we live on the bottom. What's going to flood first? The bottom. And then you look around the world, one of the things, and it's, when I look at this, it's people of color. Like in Pakistan, Asia, India, right now, you can turn on your TV and look, they're experiencing 122 degrees of temperature. And it's only because of human behavior and how we want to consume this earth, how we're consuming it. And so just to change to, we're going to drive electric cars, that's not going to solve the problem. We have to change our whole consumerist lifestyle and become back to our natural self, where we don't have these big agribusinesses growing food, that food is grown on a buy local. That's the thing now, to reduce these type of big farms that's killing the environment. So we have to change the way we live. And so in order to do that, we just have to spread this word that we can't continue to consume and eat, as somebody was saying, this European lifestyle. The European lifestyle is really what's killing the planet.
Yeah.
So-
Grow more fruits and vegetables and less animals. Yeah.
It's healthy.
So you all are preaching a vegetarian lifestyle that will help the atmosphere, that will help the climate, that will help people live longer.
Of course, man.
It's scientific fact.
Yeah, of course.
But the animals were put on here also by God, or if you believe that. And I mean, they were put on the earth. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to add that, I'm definitely an atheist. I don't believe in your God out there, because if I were God, I would come down and strike down these evil people that's destroying not only destroying human beings,
Well, you're speaking of an anthropomorphic God, though.
Millions of species are dying
You are
as a
speaking of
result
an
of our behavior.
anthropomorphic God that has feelings and will look at life in that particular way. And if we are saying that God or the creative spirit of the universe that helped create everything, if we
But
are saying that, then it's created and it's up to man to help make it happen or not happen. So
Yeah, we should be the most intelligent creatures. We should make sure to take care of the animals. But whether there's a God or not, or whatever you call him, there got to be a supreme being. But
I think there has to be a supreme being. And that's why I go back to the issue and the statement that no matter what we do, we cannot totally destroy the earth.
yeah,
It's
take care of
beyond
it.
our depth. It's beyond our understanding. It's beyond our capacity. I don't think, and sadly, a lot of the Republicans that Brother Kalongi was mentioning, they have that mentality in that context. Now, I look at it a different way. More people could live longer if we take care of the atmosphere and the way that we live much better. We can live longer, we can live better lives. I mean, maybe man can live 200 years instead of 70 years. But, you know, by all the things in the atmosphere and the things that we do to shorten and mess up our breathing and our systems, our chemical systems, it makes it more difficult for us. I just want to say, this is the Sourceseeker Hour. This has been a very powerful show. We've been talking science. We've been talking the atmosphere. We've been talking, we talked about the flood. We've been talking about so many we've been talking about so many powerful things that are going on and have happened in the world. We've been talking about race. We've been talking about surviving. We've been talking about how can we live better lives? How can we find a way to help more people survive? This is our 111th episode, and I would like everybody to make a final statement, say how people could reach you if they want to. And while we are doing that, I'm going to look back at our Facebook feed to see if we have any comments, and then I'm going to bring those to the group. Brother Edmund Guy, can you share who you are and your final statement?
Yes, very quickly. My final statement, Edmund Guy. I'm a retired refinery worker, and also looking at the global warming thing. I've traveled to Kenya, Africa, and I look at what things that people are doing that's contributing to the global warming. Cutting down too many large trees that takes too long to grow. That's heating our planet up. Show it to a youngster, our future. These are youngsters, and we got to show it to our future. They can very simply see that things are getting warmer. Look at the plastic bags the grocery stores give you away. I've saved plastic bags for a while, but I got more than I need right now. I mean, you can't put it in the trash. You can't, when you burn it, you're going to give away toxic fumes. So these things are adding to the global warming, it's adding to the toxicity of our climate. Thank you for inviting me, but we can do more. Let's warn our youngsters to try to do more to take care of our planet.
All right, thank you, my brother. And thank you very much for our association today. For those who don't know, my brother's a very accomplished technician of many different things, and he helped me today, helped me cut my lawn, and he's going to help me with a whole lot of different things. Been knowing my brother a long, long, long time. Brother
Very
Christopher
good.
Times,
Yes,
give us a word and tell us how we can reach you.
Well, you know, I know race has been mentioned, so I'm just going to say that this is some type of diabolical plan to really destroy a lot of resources. You think about the world really I would say over 3/4 of the world are people of color. And so when you start looking at that, and then you start looking at all of the lies being told to us, right, people of color in the United States, and consequently throughout the whole world about who we really are, right, and who we worship. Let's go with that, and all of those types of concepts. This whole climate change fits right in there. because they want to take over the world, right? Quote unquote, and use all of the resources. You think about the Native Americans and how they really, worship, God and or their creator, and they respected the land. And so that whole cycle's been reversed. So it's really sad. But when people open their eyes to see what's really happening, then hopefully it's not too late, right? Before everything's been burned up, destroyed, used up. And so, anyway, my name is Christopher Times again. I'm with mental health. I do coaching, so I work with families and people and try to motivate folks and get people, from their stuck places to places where they're healthy and thriving. And so that's what I do. My number is 540-421-2249, and you can always reach me at my email, christimesma@gmail.com.
And I want to add that the brother is working with our group, our mental health group, Brighter Light Mental Health Group, and we're going to present a seminar June 5th, and that seminar will be the crisis of young Black men, homelessness, and suicide. June 5th, Brother Christopher Times presents that seminar along with the Brighter Light Mental Health Group. So we look forward to that, and thank you, brother, for all that you present. Brother Kalongi, would you share your word and how people can reach you?
Yes, I'm Brother Kalongi. I'm the senior pastor at the Shrine of the Black Madonna Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, and in Houston, Texas, Shrine 10. But I must say, this was a great conversation. I'm sad that it's ending so quickly. I thought we was on the verge of something, because we probably all started out on different planes, but we kind of was arriving at the same location, intellectually speaking. And I believe that's a part of African culture, communalism. I am because we are. And, salvation is a group experience. And when I say salvation, I'm not talking about religious salvation. I'm talking about the salvation of society. When we come together collectively and we all bring our gifts, our talents, and our unique experiences in this, what we call reality or life, what happens is we come up with solutions that tend to be beneficial to our survival and our inclination as a people. And so we have to do this more often. Right now, as I know one of the elders talked about European lifestyle, European psychology, European society. It is based in individualism. And when you are individualistic in your experience, you don't get a chance to actually understand what is even taking place in society, because you're egotistical. You believe that the universe is yours and you live inside of a bubble. And when you have that kind of psychology guiding an entire society, what happens is you're going to come to internal damnation, and it'll be swift. And again, that's why I'm saying we have to have historical consciousness, because we understand anywhere Europeans, and we're talking about white Europeans because they're not the first Europeans. Africans were the first Europeans, believe it or not. But when you're talking about Caucasian people, everywhere they travel to, everywhere they migrate to, it concludes in destruction. And this is not biased opinion. This is historical facts. And so we really have to be revolutionary in our thinking, revolutionary in our fellowship, and it means so much for us to come together and have these kind of dialogues. I'm inviting all of you to our worship experience at the Shrine on Sundays. Brother Veon, hey, brother, I'm with you. We don't believe in spookism. I don't believe in no anthropomorphic God. I believe we create the concept of God. We are an expression of the universe, of course. And so, man, you will fit right into that community. And I'm telling you, the kind of talents and gifts and wisdom you have blessed that entire community as well. So, to all of my people, stay strong.
Hey, yes, teach, brother.
Peace and power,
Amen.
peace and power. Brother Sadiki, can you share your word, and if people want to reach you? Brother Sadiki.
Yeah, you know me with the slow Mike, sorry guys. Yeah, my name is John Sadiki Johnson. I do a lot of things. I am a Black man, but I do a lot of things. I'm an engineer, I'm a mathematician, I do math, I'm a mathematician, I have degrees. But those things don't really matter in what we, well, they matter in us coming up with new ideas and new solutions. But in terms of the status or that comes with it, it's the biggest thing that I take away from this conversation, as what I kind of started off with, is education and changing our value system. And you can't change your value system without either an education or a catastrophe.
Oh, youngster.
And so we got a choice, because the route we're going on is not sustainable. Everybody sees it. It's even if it's livable, it's not what we want. And maybe we can't change it or fix it, but we don't have to go down just feeding it either. So I think, the idea of changing our value systems and deciding on a non-consumerism life, whether it's however it is, that doesn't just chase after whatever anybody tells you, which again, you aren't going to get unless you have an education, unless you can make logical decisions. And that's been stripped away pretty hard from our education system for the last 40, 50 years. So, right now we look like we got catastrophes going to be the thing that's going to make us change our value system. But changing our value system will help. And that's being contacted. I have email address, dj96789@yahoo.com. And feel free to call if you need to. And if I can do anything to help, I will. Thank you for having me on.
Sounds great, my brother. I've been knowing my brother for a little while also, and we go back a long ways, and I appreciate you being on here, brother. Sister Johna Reneè, share your word.
Yes, I want to first say thank you, Rudy, for having me on this platform tonight. I definitely learned a lot, as well as feel like there's been an equal exchange of information and knowledge. And I want to definitely thank Dr. Kalongi, Dr. Sadiki, I hope I'm saying that right, and Chris, thank you, Dr. Thomas, for your input and providing a little more depth and insight to what happened with Hurricane Katrina. Definitely appreciate that. I want to say that I'll give I guess, who I am real quick before I get into my little spill. But again, I am a multi-passionate entrepreneur, travelpreneur, human service worker in the greater Houston area for the past 15 years, mostly in disaster recovery. So when we're talking about these disasters that have been caused by global warming, I worked Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Ike, and most notably Hurricane Harvey in the greater Houston area, and helping people to recover to their new normal. And so that has been, and I've done that over the past 10 years, and that has been enlightening work to do, especially in disaster recovery, because you look at a situation like a Hurricane Katrina versus a Hurricane Harvey, both of them very, very precedented disasters. But what was the biggest difference? Hurricane Katrina had more loss of life as opposed to Hurricane Harvey, which was more infrastructure that was impacted. And when you think about that, you think about what Brother Dr. Reynolds was saying was the people at the bottom, and following the money. You're following the money. A lot of people lost their lives in Katrina, and Hurricane Harvey was just as devastating, but the way the infrastructure and the way that the city is designed and where the money goes, you didn't see as much loss of life like you did with Katrina. You saw the infrastructure, and the infrastructure, it didn't take as long to get the infrastructure back up and running in a city like Houston. But that goes to show the difference between how the cities are ran. And I don't know if you know this, Baruti, but when I say that my life is impacted by disasters, that that bridge behind you wasn't that one, but I was also in the '89 earthquake in California, being a California native and then moving down south. So I just want to say thank you all. And my closing remarks is not only following the, excuse me, following the money, but the consumerism. And I thank Dr. Kalongi for mentioning the difference of the individualism versus the collectivism. And I think once we realize how our individual choices affect and impact the collective, then we are going in the right direction. I'm currently in Mexico, and just to give you a little insight, there is an exodus of Black expats that are now here living in Mexico, and they're living a life that's not so much the sedentary life where you're sitting down and you're doing all this work, but more active, and you have the jungle and the rainforest here that people are appreciating and cultivating their own foods and their own herbs and their own oils so that we can create more of a enriching lifestyle so that we're not dealing with some of the ailments that are caused by some of the impact of global warming. So I just want to end with that. And I also end with the way you can reach me is through my email, which is jhillspeaks@gmail.com, jhillspeaks@gmail.com. Thank you for having me, Rudy.
Very welcome. Peace and power. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for it.
Power and peace.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Brother, my main man, Dr. Veon, the final word.
I'm gonna keep it very,
final word, Dr. Veon.
Very simple. If I go back to Gandhi, be the change that you want to see. Live the life that you want to have lived. And that's real simple. You have to make the steps to do what you want.
Can I cut in and say something though? Everybody, in a sense, is different though. Not everybody would be happy with the minimalist life or the life where they don't have a car, they don't have, everybody would not be happy by that. Are you saying that they should get happy, or they should they should learn to live in a way that, I guess you are saying that. Let me let you speak.
Yeah, that's all. I am saying that we have to change our lifestyle, and we see the effects of our current lifestyle. So if we want to see something different, we're going to have to live that change. We're going to have to live simple. I mean, that's just it. We're going to have to go back and live very, very simply. But, you know, it's hard to do when everybody else is driving their Cadillac and they got on this cologne and they're doing this and they're flying over there. But you have to sometimes make sacrifices yourself to make change that we need. So that's all I'm saying. You can reach me if you want to at veonmc@gmail.com.
Thank you, Dr. Veon. I'd like to
go ahead, Sadiki.
Brother Rudy. Yes, I just wanted to chime in on your statement about happiness. And I had a fortune cookie that I've been keeping because I just liked it. And it says basically, most people are as happy as they make up their minds to be. So
that is a powerful statement. I will acknowledge that. You are as happy as you make up your mind to be. I remember,
so we can change our value system.
Go ahead.
We can change our value system and be happy.
I acknowledge that. I accept that. And yes, everybody has different experiences, so they have a different plane of view and what might make them happy. But if you, I'll say it like this. There was an example that Nelson Mandela gave. When he was in prison, he said one of the things that got him through was he would imagine himself walking on the beach. He would imagine himself in another setting. And he came so deeply into that thought pattern that it helped him get through those days. And it wasn't like he was even in the prison no more. His mind was somewhere else. So our mind is very powerful. We can create the world that we want in many instances, not always, but we can create a happiness that can help us get through or get to the next level. This has been the Sourceseeker Hour, our 111th episode, and we will continue. Our next episode, 112, will be about healthy immune systems. That will be on June 2nd, and that will be on the upcoming 2 Thursdays, and we look forward to that, and we look forward to continuing with our audience and getting better every week, every session. And we now have where we're doing mental health seminars. I shared with you our next mental health seminar with Brother Times, and we look forward to everybody joining us. The Sourceseeker Hour, Baruti Carl Alexander, thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.